In this lesson, we'll create a cost schedule associated with the concrete in our design concept. So let's get started. All right, so now that our steel's in place, let's move on to the concrete. So we're going to focus on how much concrete we need to pour the slab and how much that's going to cost us. And we're going to take that same approach for our footings underneath our columns as well. So we'll start with the slab. So we'll jump to our View tab. We're going to go to Schedules again. And we'll go to Schedule Quantities, and this time we're going to go look for floors. This will make sure we get our slab in place. So we'll go create a schedule associated with floors, new construction. And we know that working with floors, pricing this is going to be a little bit different than working with steel. With steel, we were working under the assumption of, the cost per linear foot is going to be what the price will be. But with this one, with concrete, there's going to be some volume associated with this. And normally when they're pricing concrete, they're going to do it by the yard or by the cubic yard. So we need to take that into account and keep that in mind when creating our calculated values. So what we need to get this accomplished, we're definitely going to need to know what the cost is, what the person providing the concrete costs me per cubic yard. So I'll add that to my list here. I also want to know the volume. I want Revit to calculate that for me. I don't want to have to do too much math here, so I want Revit to tell me what the volume is for that floor. And once we have the cost and the volume, now we can create a calculated value. So I'm going to call this one cubic yards needed. So that's the first thing we need to know is the cubic yards needed to get this done. We'll need to convert that volume into cubic yards. So I'm going to go cubic yards needed. And what I'll do is I'll go to formula here and we'll start picking down what we need. So what I really need is volume. And we know that when doing cubic yards, a cubic yard is basically 1 foot cubed. So what we need to do is take this volume and we're going to divide this by 27. That'll give us the formula we need to convert this volume into cubic yards. So we'll go OK. And we're set here. Now when I click OK here, we've got all the fields we need. But I can see we need to make some quick adjustments here. I want to switch the order in which these fields appear. So let's go back to our fields and let's adjust this order. I want to know the entire volume first. Then I want to know how much I need. Then I want to know how much that's going to cost me. And there's actually one more calculated value we can add. We know what the unit cost is. Let's find out what it costs, the total cost would be. So we'll calculate a value and we'll call this one total cost of slab concrete. And this doesn't take into account any of the reinforcing steel. This is strictly figuring out how much it's going to cost me to order this concrete. So we'll simply go OK here. And for the formula, we're going to pick out the cubic yards we needed, which is the formula we just created. And then we want to multiply that times the cost per cubic yard. So I'll click OK. And it looks like we're set now. I can now come into my schedule here and start plugging in the information I need. So I'm going to make, again, like with the steel, I need to make a couple of assumptions. I'm going to assume when I'm working with the slab, it's going to cost me maybe $50 per cubic yard. That might be totally off, but plugging in that field will let me know exactly how much it's going to cost me to pour my slab. So at $50 per cubic yard for a volume of 3,904 cubic feet, it's going to cost me about $7,229. Let's go ahead and format this cell like we've been doing here. We'll put the currency here and get rid of some of these extra decimal places. So I'm going to go back down here to my formatting, and we want to adjust the total cost here. Field format, we'll get rid of the default settings. We're working in currency. We want 2 decimal places, and I want a dollar sign. We'll click OK, OK here, and that looks good. And we'll adjust how this is, the appearance of this as well real quick. This is a small graph, so I can really get this accomplished really fast. So we'll go back to Modify, click in that field, we'll go Shading. And again, I'm trying to be consistent here, so I know I have a certain way I like these to appear. So we got orange on top, and I want my font in that cell to be bold and just a little bit larger. And we'll do the same thing here. We'll change the shading to yellow, and we'll just bold the font in those cells. Perfect. So now we know the cost associated with our slab. So let's take the same approach, and let's do this for all of our footings that are providing structural support for our columns. So this time I'm going to go back to View. We'll go to Schedules drop down here, and we're going to go with our schedule quantities again. But this time we're not going with floors. We're not going to go with concrete or anything like that. We are looking for structural foundations, and that will get exactly what we need. So we'll click OK. And we're going to take the same scheduled fields we used to figure out the slab here. So we would definitely want to know the cost. I want to know the volume. And now we'll create some calculated values here. So first one we'll create is cubic yards needed. And that formula is simply your volume divided by 27. And I'll click OK here. And we need one more calculated value here. We need to know the total cost now. Now that we have that cost per cubic yard, let's see here. So we'll go total cost of footing. And I'm going to need that to be my cost times my cubic yards needed. Click OK, and I think we're in good shape. Let's change the order really quick again. So again, I want to know how much I need. So we'll move that to the top. Actually, we'll go with the volume associated. How much I need, how much it costs, and then the total. So I'll click OK, and we are set here. So now I can type in the cost. So let's say for my footings, the cost is a little bit different. We have two different footings here. We've got a 9 cubic foot footing, which is going underneath all my columns. And then we have this one is 36 cubic feet, and that's going underneath our lateral support. Normally those footings are a lot bigger, a lot beefier, since they're handling a lot of the load that's going on within that building. So I'm just going to apply two different values, just for example purposes. So for our 9 cubic foot, we'll say the cost of that is 55. And then for our larger one, we'll say the cost of that is 60. Perfect. So now we have our totals in place. We know exactly what we're working with. Let's do some formatting, adjusting how it looks, and we can actually move on to the next. So I'm going to adjust my cells again. So we'll go to Formatting, and we want to adjust how our money is represented. So we'll go there, Field Format. We'll get rid of that default. We'll go to Currency, 2 decimal places, and a $sign. Happy with that. We can go to our cubic yards needed, and we can also make some adjustments there. So again, I'm going to go to Format. We'll go to cubic yards needed. We're going to adjust its field format. We'll get rid of the default settings, and we'll go to a fixed number here. And this will allow me to go to maybe 2 decimal places. We'll get rid of all those running decimals here. So this makes it a lot easier to read. Now let's apply some color to this, and we can move on to our next bit here. So we're going to go to Modify, Shading. We know want our top to be orange, and we want that font to be bold and just a little bit larger. And we'll do the same thing for our cells down below. Again, shading, yellow, and we just want bold font in this case. And before we finish, let's go ahead and create a grand total here. So again, we'll go to Sorting, and at the very bottom, we'll check grand totals. And we definitely want to make sure we have all our instances itemized so we know exactly how many we have. I'm going to click OK, and that tells me I have 14 footings altogether. And now one last step is to come to our fields, or actually formatting, and we're going to take our total cost of footing here, and we're going to apply calculated totals to that. Click OK, and now we know we have a calculated total for what's going on with our concrete here. So, and now that we have our steel done, we have our concrete, we are now ready to attack our walls. So in the next lesson, we'll learn how to price our exterior walls and our curtain wall system.